Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life. And today is the start of International Stress Awareness Week. So today I wanted to talk to you about stress and particularly menopause and perimenopausal symptoms, because often we can find that stress can make these symptoms worse. No big surprise, but actually from speaking to many hundreds of women so far going through menopause and perimenopause, I've noticed that the more stress in their lives, the more severe their symptoms. And it's very rare these days I speak to a woman that isn't particularly stressed. And there's different types of stress, but everybody's got some kind of stress, and that's why they're suffering a lot of the time. And I think, that's why we're seeing so many more women suffering symptoms such as fatigue, brain fog, forgetfulness, mood swings, hot flushes, insomnia, low libido, digestive issues, frequent infections, so many more, because of this additional stress. So I wanted to talk about this today because it's such an important topic, and we often don't, it's still something, even though I'm talking about it, lots of people are talking about it, it's still something I think we're finding really difficult to manage. What is particularly bad about stress? Well, it's not all bad, actually. We need stress. We need it to wake up in the morning. We need it to survive an attack of some kind or just survival, and we need it to function. But when it's relentless, that's when it causes the problems. Because our fight or flight response is not particularly very well equipped for modern day stress. It's great for acute stress, like being attacked by a lion. That's what it was invented for. But not so great for the little stresses we deal with every day. Dr. Chatterjee is one of my favorite doctors. His fantastic book, by the way, The Stress Solution. I don't know if you see that. It's amazing. Pick it up if you've got any of these issues. He calls modern life the barrage of MSDs, micro stress doses. And this isn't the lion attack, but these are tiny little stresses that happen all day long. And there's hundreds of them from the minute your alarm goes off in the morning, waking you up, to getting the kids fed and off to school, deciding what to wear that you like the look of. And that could be 3 or 4 changes. Getting a Facebook notification of a disaster somewhere in the world, your train is delayed, or you get stuck in traffic. And that's all before you've even got to work. So all these little micro doses add up over time. And it's that cumulative effect of all that cortisol and adrenaline that is the problem. And the fact that we don't ever kind of switch off, we're just getting these multiple little doses all through the day. And we don't get to go back to our cave after the lion attack and relax and go, whew, that was a close one, relax, chill out, sleep for a bit. No, we don't get to do that. We don't get to switch off. And that is the problem. It's just long-term, lots of cortisol and adrenaline building up. Now, particularly for women over 40, I mean, men obviously it's got stress as well. And of all ages, you can have stress. But for women over 40, it's particularly hard because we've got quite a few different stresses going on. So first of all, menopause or perimenopause, that journey itself is stressful because the hormones are changing, and that puts an additional stress on you internally. Secondly, we've got more kind of life stress. We might have kids that we've had at a later age, or no kids that are stressing us out, or our relationships might be under some stress. We may have health issues, other health issues. We may have looking after other people with health issues. We may have grief or additional responsibility or financial worries or elderly parents. Lots of different stresses that we're coping with at this age group, that sandwich generation that we're in. Number 3 is we are generally having more work stress. The health and safety exec produced a report saying that midlife women are reported more work-related stress than any other group. So it's kind of, it's that work stress on top of the life stresses as well. So they're all adding up. Fourth, we've got internal stresses going on. So aging is a stress, obviously, on the body. We've got chemicals and toxins that have built up over the years. We may have food intolerances that are causing issues. We may be on medications. We may have nutrient deficiencies. We may have blood sugar imbalances, or we may just be dehydrated. These are all stresses that can increase cortisol and stress the body out. And then lastly, unresolved emotional stresses. I speak to a lot of women who are still dealing with stuff that's not resolved from their past, whether that's trauma or PTSD or whatever's gone on for them. So that obviously is an internal stress as well. So if your adrenals are already overworked from life, work or internal or emotional stresses, the menopause is just, that period is just going to add up on those stresses and make your symptoms worse. Now, on top of that, we have reduced stress resilience. So we're not actually as able to cope with our stresses as we used to be able to. So we have something called the cortisol steal. So when we're stressed, the body needs more stress hormones, and stress hormones are made from the same precursor as our sex hormones. So we have a precursor hormone, pregnenolone, and when we're stressed, the body diverts it to make cortisol. So then your sex hormones are suppressed even more. So that's another issue. And then, of course, adrenal fatigue. We're not able to take up the slack when the ovaries reduce their production of estrogen and progesterone. The adrenals are naturally meant to take over some of that. But when we're adrenally fatigued and we're stressed out, producing a lot of cortisol and DHEA, then we're not able to pick up that slack, and then of course the reduction in estrogen and progesterone gets worse. So as competent women, we want to have it all. We want to please everyone. We want to look after people, all of that. So there's this vicious cycle of trying to push through and survive, and that can often increase the very stress hormones that are causing the problem. So symptoms wise, daily symptoms, we might have that dreaded belly fat, that weight gain around the middle, which is a good thing for our fight or flight response because it's an easy source of energy. That's why the body puts belly fat around that area when we're stressed. And of course, fat is also a good source of estrogen. So when your adrenals are tired, then the body turns to fat cells for estrogen. So it's a little bit harder to lose that weight. Brain's going to be foggy and forgetful and moody and maybe low. Feeling a little bit flat, motivation might be low, and then of course that anxiety kicks in as well. We've got low libido and dryness, and of course your sleep's going to be affected. But it's the longer term that we need to be a little bit more worried about. In fact, because of it suppresses, too much cortisol suppresses your immune system, so it makes us more prone to picking up not just colds and infections, but longer term chronic health conditions. So that's where it becomes really, really crucial that we are balancing the cortisol. Of course, digestion, bone loss, heart health, all important as well, and all can be affected with lots of cortisol. So that's the bad news. What do we do about it? Oh God, look, we know what to do, don't we? But often it's just a case of, life taking over, and, it's just too big to kind of change things. And I get that when you're tired, and motivation might be low as well. But the more important thing is to put in some baby steps and start changing your habits very, very gradually, because you can do that in a really small way, that then you start to change things, you start to feel better, and then you can build on that. The problem is when people try to change too many things at once, or do, start meditating for 20 minutes a day, and, give up after a week because they miss one or two, or they can't fit it in that day or whatever. And it's just too much too soon. So just start with like 5 minutes a day, and just do that for as long as you possibly can, like even a month or 2 months or 3 months, and just get that nice habit in there, and you'll start to see little benefits that you can then build on. So I'll give you my top 10 kind of stress reduction type stuff, but you kind of know this, but I'm going to reinforce it because you can hear this so many times and not really hear it. So the more I say it, sometimes it just goes in on some days and it doesn't go in other days. So you know what? The first thing I do is just say no more. Get rid of any things in your diary that you don't really want to do, but you just agreed to because you kind of thought you felt guilty not doing it. So many things like that. Let's just look at your calendar and see what those things are, and just, do you know what? Just take them out. Get rid of those drainy friends, the ones that make you feel worse by seeing them. The ones, and just surround yourself with people that love and support you. That makes such a big difference. Slow down. So how many women I speak to I say to them, how do you switch off? And they say, well, I don't really, I never sit down and don't do anything. And I say, well, how would you feel if you did that? And a lot of the times they say, well, I'd feel either guilty if I sat there and did nothing, or even bored, because we're so switched on all the time, aren't we? That actually when you just sit and do nothing, it's kind of a little bit boring. But actually you have to get used to that boring, because it's really, really good for you to be bored. So, and that just shows that, you might be addicted to the adrenaline. Make your downtime non-negotiable. So even if it's that 5 minutes that you just start with, make that 5 minutes non-negotiable. You never ever miss that. And if you wake up too late, or you just make sure you fit in that you can fit 5 minutes in, even if it's just before you go to bed. So make it non-negotiable. That's your 5 minutes, and then build up very, very slowly. So you ingrain that habit first. Spend more time in nature. It's a no-brainer. Say it all the time, but it's a massive stress reliever. Just getting out in the trees and the green, it just does something, doesn't it? So I know it's hard with this weather and in the winter, but if you can, even just get out for a walk at lunchtime. You can create a playlist for your walk that's really relaxing, or listen to your favorite podcast. It's just a really nice thing to do. Plus it's exercise. Prioritize your sleep. Get to bed by 10:30, 11 latest, and make sure you get all the gadgets out of your room, because that's automatically going to reduce your stress. Create and maintain those boundaries. Make sure there's a boundary between work and home. This boundary has just completely disappeared for many of us. So, if you work from home, just make sure you shut the office door at 5 or 6, and you don't do any more work till the next morning. I mean, it's really hard because we're all attached and connected, aren't we? So you need to tell people you're not available between certain hours, or, try and have a digital detox every overnight, or at least maybe once a week on a Sunday. This one's hard for me. I've admitted I'm completely addicted to my phone. It's really difficult for me to do this, but I really, really try. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to try as well. Listen to your body. When you feel anxious or stressed, just stop and breathe for a minute. Take a little bit of time out, 5 minutes, just deep breathing. Listen to your 5-minute meditation, or go for a walk or whatever. Just change your state, because it really, really does work. Lastly, if you really want to commit, then go pay for a yoga or a mindfulness course upfront, so that you have to go to the sessions. And as soon as you start getting used to that, honestly, that'll be addictive, and you're going to love it. So nutritional wise, we need to support our adrenals as well. We need a really good multivitamin with those active B vitamins and all your minerals. We need a vitamin C, and we need some magnesium, because those are the three, the B vitamins, the magnesium and the vitamin C are the three things that get very quickly used up when we're stressed by your adrenals. So like I said, you know what to do. I wouldn't try and do all of these things at all. Just pick a couple that you like and just try and get them into your day and make them a tiny little habit until you can build it up. So, and again, I hope you found this helpful. Contact us if you want any help with your hormones, your adrenals, because we do testing as well, which is really helpful to know where you are with that. So if you want to know more about that, do message or contact us, and we'll get all that sorted. And I'll see you soon.